probably the most significant insight of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps is the acknowledgement that addiction, alcoholism, is an illness, a disease. It's a physical illness, psychological, emotional, but foundationally a spiritual illness. This insight really colors the way that we address recovery. We're looking at a spiritual illness that we need to recover from. The good news for me was to hear I wasn't a bad person who needed to get good. I was ill, I was sick, and I needed to get well. It removed the moralizing that a lot of people have come to think of as religion. It took it out of the realm of right or wrong, punishment and reward, and instead placed it into the realm of healing. The possibility of healing from this disease rather than being punished for bad behavior opens up a whole new realm for people in recovery. Alcoholism, addiction, is a disease of many losses. In those losses, we come to terms with those first 3 steps where we acknowledge, we admit that we're powerless, that our lives have become unmanageable, that this disease is chronic, progressive, and fatal. I didn't cause it, I can't control it, there's no cure. That acknowledgement leaves most of us flailing around, wondering, what do we do now? Okay, if I've admitted that, now what? And that's where the 12 steps point a spiritual path for us. That spirituality is defined, I think, best, and I don't even know where I heard this, but it's a description of what spirituality is that really resonates for me. Spirituality is the ability, the capacity to live more or less comfortably with all of the unresolved issues of life. And that really flies in the face of what a lot of us learned about religion. That religion was somehow getting it right, and getting your reward, and getting to heaven, being good. And instead, we're talking about a process of healing, a process of recovery that is not so much focused on punishment and on reward as it is on restoration. A notion of a higher power that wants to restore us to sanity and to health. This process of recovery is outlined in the 12 steps, and it is interesting, many people have noted this, the word alcohol, or whatever your drug of choice, is only used once. But the references to God and higher power, 6 times it's mentioned in there. This is really terrifying and off-putting to many, many people, especially folks who have had experiences with religion that were not really good. But the classical definition of religion might be helpful. Religion comes from the Latin root ligare, which is, we get the word ligament, to bind up together, to re-ligare, to bind together again those things that have been pulled apart, body and soul, human and divine, heaven and earth, and to restore that unity. And unfortunately, in our era, a lot of people, when they hear the word religion, they think of organized religion, they have negative things, and so spirituality has been raised up. Now, this is interesting because if you'd gone into a bookstore 30 or 40 years ago and asked them for the spirituality section, they would have looked at you curiously. It didn't exist. They would send you to the religion department. But today, we talk more about spirituality because this opens up new realms for people. Spirituality is both and, not either or. Spirituality is about healing and restoration rather than rewards and punishment. And once people can begin to understand that this spirituality, this path that's laid out before us in the 12 steps, is really not concerned with punishment, then they might be more receptive. Many people in recovery, myself included, we spent a little bit of time in our early days waiting for the other shoe to drop. Figuring, if God was fair, then we'd have to get punished for our crimes, and discovered instead that we were restored to wholeness, that we were put back together again on the condition that we be willing to share that with others. So this spiritual path is a very ancient and traditional path. There's nothing new in the 12 steps that religions throughout time and throughout the world have noted. What's different here is that this is a divine self-revelation given specifically to the most outcast of people: drunks, alcoholics, addicts, people that society at large has just wanted to push to the sides. As the book of AA says so beautifully, you people are just too heartbreaking. And when people are that broken, that heartbroken, the hope of recovery is found in the restorative process that we call spirituality. For those people who have problems with the word God, it's helpful to just think of it as a placeholder. It's a word, it's a name that traditionally we have used to define the great mystery, the power greater than us. In Alcoholics Anonymous, in 12-step recovery, we encourage people to find their own conception of a power greater than themselves. Not your mother's God, not your church's God, not what someone else told you, but your own experience of a power greater than you. And it's that experience that's so essential to recovery. It isn't about your beliefs. We really don't care what you believe. People come in and they read in the second step, we came to believe, and they, oh goodness, here we go. They expect the next words are going to say, came to believe in God. But it doesn't say that. Instead, the second step says, we came to believe in that, came to believe that a power greater. Not what we believe in, but that there might be. In fact, in AA meetings, when somebody starts telling you what they believe, oftentimes it's very awkward. We get a little nervous. We don't really like to hear all about your beliefs and how you name God, because that becomes a way of dividing people. Instead, we insist that this power greater than ourselves is open to all people. It can have many names, and it is available to anyone who seeks. So spirituality, from the Latin spiritus, breath, that the spirit that is within us, that life force, is what informs us, and it's the fire within us. Ron Rolheiser, a great spiritual writer, said that what we do with our longings, with that fire within, how we channel that, that's our spirituality. And the choices we make will either lead to a greater integration or disintegration within us. So we're looking for a spirituality that heals. Spirituality is a lot like health. Everyone has it. Good health, bad health. They might be obsessed with health, they might never think about it, but everyone has health, and everyone has spirituality. What the 12 steps invite us to is a life-giving spirituality, a way of making sense of the brokenness that we've experienced, and a daily path whereby we are able to share what's been given with others. This is the 12th step. Having had a spiritual awakening. It's all about that. The spiritual awakening is described in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous as a profound alteration in our reaction to life. That's the spiritual life. Not a burning bush or visits from angels, but a change, a profound change in the way that we react to life. First of all, to alcohol and drugs, and then to the people around us. This change, this profound change, is the foundation of a spiritual life.